Dean.
There's a lot.
Bicycling along the Great Wall.
So let's begin the working session of the Common Council City of Plattsburgh for May 18th. This is the part of the meeting where we go through the agenda, have any extended discussion, solicit any information from the department heads or the public as the council may desire. Anything you'd like to have a little bit further discussion on?
Yeah, as with last week, I'll, just kind of jump ahead to the approval for the event on the 21st for the co-op. And give Jeremiah Ward a chance to address some of the concerns we had raised.
I think this makes the most sense with the picture.
Good.
It's worth 1,000 words.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Brian.
So thanks for considering this such kind of last minute. Sorry for any confusion. So this is something I put together in SketchUp to kind of illustrate what's going on. So there was some concern, obviously, about pedestrian safety for the event, and it's appropriate, especially given what just happened in Times Square today. I don't know if anyone heard. But we've resolved the issue, and as you see on the two end caps here of this design, these are two of the water-filled Jersey barriers that the co-op purchased and owns that we'll set on the ends if we're granted approval. And I was waiting on Kevin Farrington's approval on those, and he sent me the approval by email for the water-filled Jersey barrier, correct? Yeah. So I didn't want to purchase anything more than what we're going to use ultimately for our parklet, which we're working on finalizing and getting approved. So this proposal has those two Jersey barriers used on the ends, and then these 4 blocks that are on the side along the roadside are called concrete waste blocks that we would rent from Taylor Rental, and they're 2 foot by 2 foot by 6 feet long. And so to kind of minimize my rental costs, I tried to space them in a way that provides enough protection from the vehicle, but it provides adequate coverage for pedestrians. So assuming I get the go-ahead, I can rent these blocks for the side here, and then fill up the water-filled barriers sometime tomorrow on the ends, and then we can get ready for this event. And it's a one-day event. It's on Sunday from about noon to 3, and so it's and then Taylor Rental will take the concrete blocks, go about their business, and then we will relocate the Jersey barriers and start constructing our parklet.
Good.
Where? I'm sorry, Sean.
It's okay. We were simultaneous. So you have the lane closure, the right lane closure. Might be helpful to put cones along there too, just to, encourage people to use the left-hand lane instead of trying to encroach on that area at all.
All right.
I was going to ask, where do the parking spaces fall in to here as well as the crosswalk?
Oh, right. So, and this is kind of a quick sketch, but so this is kind of the 2 parking spaces in front of the co-op. Our parklet application is just the one, and it's the one that's on the left-hand side of the page. So, basically the crosswalk.
So the crosswalk would be to the right, to the far right?
The main entrance to the co-op will be to the right down here. So we are, for this one-day event, using the parking space right in front of 25 Bridge Street, but also the 21 Bridge Street parking space that will ultimately convert into the parklet.
Yeah, and so there's going to be, I've forgotten, tables or chairs or what on the...
Hay bales.
Hay bales.
And then a tent for the band.
Right.
It's going to set up in that
Okay.
space.
Have you
and-
had conversations with the police for traffic flow and all this kind of stuff?
I have not, and I actually went forward with this design. I didn't submit the initial application, and I was sorry if I'm out of the loop at all, but if need be, this can, I hope, work even without a lane closure, but if it, a lane closure is obviously,
That was in the original, so I thought that was a wise
Yeah.
idea.
But we reached out to neighboring businesses and they're okay with everything. I haven't reached out to the police myself, but you could easily do that.
Chief Parkinson, do you have any comments or concerns about their proposal?
I think the only issue we had was some type of barriers between the traffic lane and that, so that sounds like it would be sufficient to me.
And since I saw that concern, I should definitely be one of these right now.
Yeah. And thanks for thinking of that detail about looking at the water barriers for leakages and all that too. I don't think I would have thought of that.
Yeah, it's hard to find jersey barriers or concrete jersey barriers right now.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank
Have
you.
you thought about, have you thought about designating one of your staff just to be on site to make sure that your attendees don't kind of mill out into that lane that is closed? It seems like that would look like a free space for someone that's beyond the
Oh,
barrier.
yeah.
Definitely, and
Rope
I was
it
even
off,
thinking about these kind of gaps, we can even kind of fill in with the hay, some of the hay bales or something to create a kind of a solid surface going along the whole perimeter. And yeah, we have all hands on deck in terms of staff to make sure, and I can make sure that that happens.
Okay.
And campus
Thank you.
corners have been particularly sensitive about any impediment along that road. You've talked with them as well?
I have not, but I believe.
We had some
someone
backup
has.
about that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Madeline McGrath on our board has, and they said they were fine. And yeah, because I remember actually talking about that, because, yeah, they're further away from the event, but I can see their concern and hope, I mean.
Did you say campus corner?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so, I didn't personally make that call, but it was
Right.
made.
I think if the
Alright.
lane was closed directly next to the restaurant, he probably would have an issue, but it's
Right.
just
Right.
such a small proximity.
But
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
Any other items? You see that there's a proposal for adjusting the removal of vehicle fee on the agenda tonight. And Dale's been helpful in going back and forth on that. Chief, can you outline the problem we're trying to solve with this increase in fees?
Yeah, for the last two snowstorms we had, where we had parking bans, we couldn't actually get the tow companies to come out because they said it essentially wasn't worth it to them. Traveling under cars in the snow and their insurance rates have gone up, it cost them more to come out, so it was tough to get them to come out to clear the streets, or so DPW could, get through the plows, so that was the reason for this. They told us, assured us that they would come out if the rates were higher.
Thank you. And the city doesn't actually collect any share of this revenue, but you presumably collect a share of the revenue for ticketing a vehicle that's improperly parked.
Right.
Mr. Ruff, maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about the novel design that you have for the Mead Dam work?
There's a proposal on tonight for doing some geotechnical evaluation at the Mead Dam spillway chute. We're going to need to finish up the final design by the end of this year, so we're ready to bid for next year. And one of the things the contractor or the engineer needs to nail down is how much of the existing concrete can be reused. Obviously, the less concrete that we need to put in place, the less it's going to cost. So they're going to be doing petrographic analysis of the existing concrete, and they're also going to be doing some geotechnical work, see what kind of foundations are needed for underneath the new slabs that are going to be installed. So this will help them develop what's called the basis of design. Here's what we're going to have to design to put out to bid. So it's preliminary work. It's pretty straightforward stuff. It'll result in a report that will be used as the basis for design and for getting approval from DEC prior to starting that final design.
And part of this is driven by the DEC. This will also give us a lot more clarity in understanding the full cost that we'll have to put into repairing that facility up there. So I think it'd be good to have these numbers sooner rather than later. So we're glad to be doing this report.
Thank you.
Is Paul here tonight?
No, I don't think he said he was gonna be.
No.
That's right. Item K, I want to make sure that you're fully aware of Steve Peters' proposal. Steve just came in, there he is, with regard to having a beverage provider for some of his facilities. Steve did a lot of work in comparing, well, ultimately Pepsi versus Coke, isn't it? And their full lines of products. But maybe you can satisfy the council that you're not really just talking about soda here. Thanks.
Yeah, we're not talking about strictly soda by any means. We were one of the first, if not the first agency in Clinton County to adopt the healthy beverages policy that the Clinton County Health Department initiated in 2009. We're obviously going to continue that. So and both Pepsi and Coke were not concerned with that. Whatever we ask for, they'll provide. So I had quoted comparable products like Aquafina versus Dasani waters, Powerade versus Gatorades, the teas, some of the juices, and those are the things that are going to go in the machines. So that's where it starts. The data that I'd sent you, the comparisons all work out fairly well. This is a self-service option for both companies. It's a 3-year arrangement. And what self-service means is that our staff will stock the machine. So they deliver product, we stock it. Either myself or one of the managers will be pulling money out, making the deposits correctly. We've been doing this at the marina, the gym, the Civic Center for a number of years with Pepsi. Coke has now come back into the region. They really pushed fairly hard and gave us some good pricing. So we stand to do fairly well. They want to put these in the parks as well. Vandalism should be a concern, as they agreed that it was, but they also say they do it all over the place, and they're pretty quick with fixing machines. We'll see how that goes, so we'll test that out too.
And this, just thinking about recycling.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, Mike's and I, we've talked about that a number of times, trying to make that happen a little bit easier, figuring out ways to make that work. Right
You get
now,
a deposit on those bottles, right?
you do, yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, the prohibiting factor, this is just in general recycling in our parks and facilities, the only factor that's limited me was really just the budget to be able to buy robust enough, cans. Generally, we could get a can for $30, but it's the, generally you want something a little bit more robust that's gonna not break, blow away, fall down.
Maybe you can make
things.
that part of the deal.
What's that? Oh, I tried actually. I tried that. They were not taking it.
Okay.
But they will provide other things.
It's their
for that,
waste,
so.
really.
Yeah. So we've talked about that over time, and that's something we do need to focus on, is getting recycling in the parks.
Okay.
So thanks for mentioning.
I got a question about the event application for the yoga Trinity Park. In looking at, I guess maybe it's just looking at it as a small event. And it just seems like there's a contradiction here where it says a small event will not require substantial use of electricity, but yet there's electricity needed. Check.
Please come up.
I'm sorry. Hi.
I'm Linda Garand, owner of Trinity Yoga. So we would really only need electricity for maybe some lighting, or if it happens to be hot, maybe a fan or two. But that's really all we'd be using the electricity for.
Not for mics or,
No, we might do a mic, but some of those can be battery operated. So, but even if it was a mic, it still isn't going to be a large
We built for electrical use, right? Isn't there, there's a fee for electrical use?
We built it into the permit price this year.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it's
Thank
not
you.
hot yoga you can run heaters on.
No, it should be hot enough in August. All on
Yes, it
its
should,
own.
well, it should. Okay.
And this isn't an event that's shutting off the park. People can still use the park, et cetera. They've just got their space that they'll be using.
Okay.
The contract, you worked on the contract with Steve and Coca-Cola and everything. Everything's been settled there as well. Any other issues you'd like to discuss? Would you like to do any liaison reports or anything now instead of later?
Well, just indicate, I was in with the building inspector recently, and the tarp building at the end, June 1st, is coming upon us. Mr. Carter's property with the blue tarp, and
Yes, on Margaret Street.
yes,
Yeah, we have a commitment letter from Mr. Carter that that's supposed to be done by June 1st. We looked that up, sent that out to him earlier this week. I have to check with one of my inspectors who's dealing with him to find out exactly how that was received. But we do have a commitment letter.
okay, good.
I had someone ask me, Joe, about the property, the Bory property up on Upper Margaret, why there are no barricades on the fencing, where you can still see through the fencing, where
You
most
mean the
projects.
lakeside?
Lakeside,
Okay.
wide. How come there's no tarp or anything on the fence?
Because there's no barricades or?
Or, no, on the fencing, to block it off so you can't see it.
Oh, screening.
Screening, yeah.
Well, working with Dean, we didn't see that. It has to, the property has to be secure. It doesn't have to be screened. So, we've been on him about making sure that that fence is intact and where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, someone just said that
It'd be nice.
it'd be nice to have at least some screening up there so that it wouldn't be such an eyesore at this point.
I agree.
I don't know if that's something we can ask of them, or,
Joe's well aware of this. We've been going back and forth today on this. He's contacted the developer who will, I think, come and speak with us next week on the progress. And I'm going to ask for weekly updates on this because obviously we're hitting those timelines that he promised, and Joe's working very diligently, but that might be something he might volunteer to do. It certainly would alleviate at least part of some of the concerns in that area if screening is relatively
that's
inexpensive.
it, yeah.
I mean, you know, and I did read Speak Out today. And, you know, it'd be probably worthwhile just to clarify what the city's responsibility is once there's a property that's purchased and an agreement is made to clear it and all that. I mean, we can apply pressure, but we can't control things, correct?
You want me to clarify that now?
Yes, please.
Well, I probably want to lean on Dean a little bit about that. But,
Okay.
you know, I mean, yeah, we're after him weekly on this, putting as much pressure as we can. And in fact, the question of screening, I will get that message to him, if not tonight, tomorrow morning, that subject came up. And that might be something he wants to consider speaking about next week. Purchase the property, get a building permit to demolish the buildings. Building permits are valid for 2 years, as long as you initiate them within 6 months, which he did. Property is secure, doesn't necessarily pose a danger to the public or the adjacent properties.
It's just ugly.
It's ugly, no question, and we're working hard to push this along now.
But there's no ordinance or code against ugly, correct?
You know, Dean, if you don't mind, is there?
Yes, the aesthetic concerns are more difficult to enforce. There are some provisions, but he's in progress seemingly working towards a resolution. So that's it's a big question and not necessarily the best forum to address what are this entire city's responsibilities and with such a kind of an abstract. but specifically, Joe's office has been very diligent on advising the developer what the requirements are of the code, and he's been following at least the basic requirements. So we've been sensitive to the neighbors' concerns by making sure it's safe, but also sensitive to the fact that if we come down too hard with the enforcement, that we could impact their ability to continue the development. So he has, certainly we want the update, we need the update, and we want to keep that progress moving forward. And we have the building code to rely on as the hook, and that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, in regard to the screening, I mean, you come in, it's the first thing you see as you enter the city from the north, and yeah, it'd be nice to at least have a little.
Yeah, I mean, there is not a specific code.
Right,
It
yeah.
talks about securing the boundary and preventing trespassers versus visually preventing.
Yeah, unfortunately, the delays that were unforeseen. If we would have known at one time that this was going to sit dormant for 4 or 5 months, maybe that would have been something that we would have sought at that time, but I just spoke to him today, he's waiting on the bank appraisal. So, he assures me that once one thing happens, it's gonna fall like dominoes, and it's gonna happen quickly.
So this has been an ongoing process. This is not a reaction to Speak Out, is it?
Oh, no.
Okay,
We've been
good.
doing the
Just
property
so
for
we
years,
don't-
and like I said, he changed the demolition plan last year.
All right, so it's not a new venue to call Speak Out to get something done. Okay, good. Okay, just want to make sure that that's nothing we're going to encourage.
Joe's
Okay.
probably working on this at
Thanks
least
for
a
that,
couple
Dale.
times every week. So this is an ongoing thing. Although Speak Out is a good reminder, and tells us that the public is as interested in this as we are. And that's always a good thing for us to be aware of. Joe, did you write that Speak Out?
I won't take credit for that.
No, those reporters don't get paid.
So both Councilor Edsel and I serve on the board of directors of the Plattsburgh Rotary Club, and we had the privilege of having Recreation Department Supervisor Steve Peters come and talk to us about kind of the status of the USS Saratoga play structure at the beach project. And what did we decide, Peter? What happened?
6,000 and then 3,000 a year for 3 years, or for 3 years.
So it was a
Total of 15.
So the Plattsburgh Rotary Club will donate $15,000 to the project. Have you had any success securing any of the additional funding?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Still waiting for those conversations to take place. Joanne and I have something for next week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
It was great.
Can I hear that again? The 15,000 is coming from,
Plattsburgh.
Plattsburgh Rotary Club.
okay,
the new Rotary
and
Club.
the balance is,
Being coveted.
and that's 3,000 we're looking for?
Another 15.
15.
Okay.
No, 19.
19.
Roughly.
You know anybody, Dale?
Well, there's been some small, are they donations or? Okay.
I was going to ask Councilor Dowdle to get the moths out of his lawn.
To do what? To do what?
Get the moths out of your lawn.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
Out of the water.
I can give you a couple of updates. As you know, the Clinton County Administrator has been given the responsibility of constructing a shared services plan with all the municipalities in the area. So we had our first big meeting last night up at Clinton County. They've got a number of ideas of where we want to figure out how to share services. We pointed out there's a number of things that they do and we do at the same time, and maybe there's ways to cooperate, work together on that. The state will give us grants equal to parts of the savings that we can incur in the first year or so. So the county is very active in trying to come up with a good package of savings, and being that we're the largest population base within the county, obviously the city's a big part of that in their mind. So these can be ongoing discussions every couple of weeks until, I think, was it August 15th that Mike Zerl is going to have to produce a report, and they'll be approved by the state by September 15th. At that point, they'll let us know what kind of funding will come our way for consolidations and shared services and that kind of thing. If any of you ever want to attend, these are open meetings, open to the public. Again, the next one, I think, is about 2 weeks. It's a daytime meeting. If I recall, it's at 8 in the morning. Then if you're interested, I can let you know the location, or the time. The location will probably be up in the county building. One more thing, we're all waiting in anticipation, hoping that this whole litigation with retirees moves forward. We were really hoping to have a mediation with the judge. I had understood a few months ago it'd be as early as May, but May's already almost gone. We were just given a date. I don't know if you all have been told the date. We were given a date of August 24th and 25th, which is way more off into the future than any of us are, I know, are comfortable with. We would like to get this resolved, but that's the best information I have. The judge will want to do a mediation with all concerned for 2 days, 2 full days, in Plattsburgh on the 24th and 25th of August. So share that with your members if they haven't already heard that information. Any other questions or concerns?
The mediation dates, do we know why they're not till August? Is it just a calendar conflict?
It must be, huh?
Yeah, the notice just came down through our special counsel, that's the dates the judge selected. So that's the most information we know. I don't think there's any other reason than the judge's calendar.
Okay, I didn't know if there was an intent behind that. Okay, thank you.
But it's difficult for the retirees and for all concerned to be in this limbo holding pattern for all this time. So we share your frustrations as well. So thanks for your patience. Are there any other items for the work session? If not, we'll begin the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Reed?
Present.
Counselor Armstrong?
Here?
Counselor Kelly? Counselor Dowdle?
Here.
Counselor Ensel?
Here.
Counselor Casper? Counselor Kretzer?
Here.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on May 11, 2017 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councilor Kretzer, second by Councilor Ensel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending May 17, 2017 in the amount of $109,010.50 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Armstrong, second by Councilor Dowdle. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the reports as listed are hereby ordered, received, and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councilor Dowdle, second by Councilor Ensel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the bills audited by the Common Council for the week ending May 19, 2017 in the amount of $596,592.53 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Kretzer, second by Councilor Dowdle. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. This is the opportunity in the agenda. If there's anybody in the public who'd like to come and speak with us, at this point, the first public comment period is for items on the agenda. We'll have a later public comment period for any items of concern to you. So if you'd like to speak to anything on the agenda, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll continue.
Motion to remove item 7A from the table.
Moved by Councilor Armstrong, seconded by Councilor Dowdle. Roll call, please.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the Common Council approves North Country Food Co-op to hold a grand opening event on May 21st, 2017 from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., closing 2 additional parking spaces adjacent to the co-op's parklet and closing off the right side of Bridge Street for the duration of the event. A certificate of insurance is required.
Any discussion?
Oh,
Do we have to move it?
yeah.
No, I don't think we have to approve it. Off the table is the same movers, isn't it?
Did we put it, we had put it on the table the last meeting?
Right.
Okay.
You-
Okay. Discussion?
Come. Come to this event. Really happy for the co-op.
Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves PMLT bid number 2017-4-1 UFLS recording equipment installation be awarded to HMT in the amount of $59,850.
Move by Counselor Armstrong, second by Counselor Ansel. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves a revocable permit for Trinity Park Yoga to hold the North Country Yoga Fair on Saturday, August 12, 2017. It is requested that the power in Trinity Park be turned on for the event. A dig-safe permit and vendor fees are required. Trinity Park Yoga has provided a certificate of insurance for the event.
Moved by Counselor Kretzer, second by Counselor Dowdle. Discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council hereby revises the towing rates described in schedule.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading and move the resolution.
Moved by Counselor Kretzer, second by Counselor Ansel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion. Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves Schnabel Engineering Proposal Reference Number 17P25002.00 Review of Basis of Design in Concrete Field Explorations Mean Reservoir Dam, New York State, DEC 218-0236 in the amount of $43,600 and authorizes the execution of all necessary paperwork. The source of funds is capital project H8320.68.
Moved by Counselor Armstrong, second by Counselor Ansel. Discussion. Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the city chamber to adjust the general fund budget by $402.98 equally for the unbudgeted revenue.
Correction 412.
402.
Saved us $10.
To adjust the general fund budget by $412.98 equally for the unbudgeted revenue and appropriation related to a police vehicle accident repair.
Moved by Counselor Ansel, second by Counselor Kretzer. Discussion. Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves MLD to write off unpaid final bills from February 1st, 2016 to February 28th, 2016 in the total amount of $5,430.72. The percentage of write-offs for this period is 0.26%.
Moved by Counselor Armstrong, second by Counselor Dowdle. Discussion. Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the New York Main Street Technical Assistance Project be awarded to Premises Architecture PLLC for the total amount of $19,500. The New York MS grant award is for $18,525, and the building owners will provide the required match of $975.
Moved by Counselor Armstrong, second by Counselor Ansel. Discussion. Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves Amber Parliament from ETS to hold a charity kickball tournament on Saturday, September 16th on US Oval.
Moved by Counselor Kretzer, second by Counselor Dowdle. Discussion. Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves Megan Wheaton to hold the inaugural Colonel Terry Schmaltz Memorial 5K and Fun Run on US Oval on Saturday, July 1st.
Moved by Counselor Ansel, second by Counselor Dowdle. Discussion. Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the superintendent of recreation for the mayor to sign an exclusive beverage agreement with Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Northern New England for beverage machines in city recreation facilities.
Moved by Councilor Ensel, second by Councilor Dowdle. Discussion?
Who did you say first?
Ensel. Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Spencer?
Yes.
There's no travel requests at this time. Any items for initial consideration you'd like to raise? Any new business or additional councilor reports you'd like to bring up? Seeing none, this is the opportunity for anybody in the audience to please come forward and discuss any items of concern to you and the council.
Just quickly, I'd like to invite all of you to the grand reopening celebration, Sunday noon to 3. Anyone in the city really that wants to come. Should be a good time, and hopefully the weather is looking like it's going to be good. So we're going to have music from Rick Davies' old band, the Thumbtet, and lots of good food, of course, and lots of festivities. And just want to thank the city as a whole for all the support for the co-op project. It really is looking great. People are happy. Sales are up. We're all very relieved to be up and running again, and it really is an unprecedented level of help and support from the city in terms of the facade loan, the economic development revolving loan, and the assistance with the New York Main Street grant. And 4 people in particular: Councilor Armstrong, super helpful during the process. Kenny Premar was very helpful before the Community Development Office really got up and running, and then Bruce Lawson when he was the interim director, and then of course Paul Dominicus was super helpful during this whole final stretch. So thank you to everyone, and hope to see you on Sunday.
Thank you.
Hi, Phil Von Bargen, representing Valcourt Brewing Company. I'd just like to thank you for the approval for the Terry Schmaltz 5K Memorial Run. And you may know that Terry passed away at the end of June last year. And so his family and Mary Teresa are pulling together this memorial for him. I got a little brochure that I'll pass out to you. It gives a little more information about Terry. And
Thanks, Phil.
the interesting thing that's going to occur about this event will be that Terry had military friends all over the world, including Afghanistan and Iran and other locations. And so there's going to be a virtual component to this event, to this fun run in his memory. And so there will be a number of family members and military people around the world that will be participating in this virtually. So I encourage you, if you're interested, to come down on July 1st. That'll be at 9 o'clock in the morning. There'll be a fun run with it. And I just want to put one other plug in. This is National Bike Month, National Bike Week, and tomorrow is National Bike to Work Day. Valcourt Brewing is doing a little twist on this. We're encouraging people to either ride to the brewery or come down and participate in a bike ride at 6 o'clock. And if you go inside and you tell the staff that you're supporting local cycling, you'll get a chip for a beer.
Thanks, Phil.
Beautiful, thank you.
It's also National Nursing Home Week. It begins on Mother's Day and runs for a week. So if anybody has any loved ones in a nursing home or shut-ins, make sure you go and visit them this week as well. I got to go to a very nice gathering out at Evergreen and saw a really neat car show. Was it yesterday from National Nursing Home Week? Any other public comments? Would you like to come up?
After my glasses now getting too old. Well, I'll try to make it brief because we're all hot and we want to get through this really fast. I have 2 issues that I want to discuss. So the first one has to do with the continued reduction in property taxes for large property owners. And my concern as a resident and the fact that we had a 6.6 increase for property taxes last year, and we're looking at probably, even though we're trying as a council to, stay within New York State guidelines, I don't see it happening because of the way that things are going, and because of the loss of revenue from the water department, and, well, we all know the situation. So, the mayor addressed the media, and the council was there on May 5th to say that we're going to be close to a $2.5 million deficit in loss of revenue and no one increased in expenses for 2017. And obviously, this doesn't include any kind of unforeseen expenses or the fire department union retirees, pension, and capital improvements that unfortunately water mains break, and we all know how those things become very expensive. So I know that the mayor, you're hoping to balance our 2017 budget with revenue from the match grant from New York State Revitalization Fund, but as we know, that may come or whenever, and the problem is that they're match funds, and it's not like $10 million that the city is just getting, it's, we have to match the funds.
Well, the DRI, just to correct you, the DRI, it isn't match funds, it will be funds primarily to us, but it won't be able to be used for any of the budget items that we're looking at.
Right, yeah, maybe I should clarify. It'll be used specifically for the revitalization of downtown and building the building. And one of the things I kept bringing up to the committee, and my concern was that we're going to lose parking. I won't go into this, but that we could, as an alternative, if they don't want to do the underground, we could build up on top, like the building next door. And I won't address that now, but I do have concerns about that. Getting back to this, though, I think that it's, given the fact that the town of Plattsburgh continues to get property development west of the city, and the city, I don't see us getting any large major development happening here. I have a lot of concern because our major source of revenue, if I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, is property tax. And we continue to give, concessions to large property owners. I would like to have somebody for the council or whatever try to figure out why we keep losing business to the town of Plattsburgh. And I have a sense, infrastructure is now being developed in the West End, and, everybody that I speak to, that recently has broken ground tells me that, well, the property taxes in the city are, unbelievable, and we're gonna build in the town. I don't know what the rate is, but I mean, obviously, we're not doing something right to lure business back here, because we used to, for years, have business come here and not there. We still have the lakefront. The concern I have is that I know that the assessor's office, there's a protocol that you follow to grieve any property tax increase. However, what we're seeing as a city right now is, well before any kind of increase, they're looking at reducing what their current tax rate is. As somebody that owns property, I have several, I have a multifamily, I have, a house, I have rental property. I have concerns because I know that I struggle to keep rents, and they're not increasing, they're decreasing. But what I do as a property owner, and what you have to do when you're in business yourself, is find out why is the competitor getting customers that you're not getting, and improve your property, and cut corners where you can, not come to the city to help us have them gain a profit. For example, I understand through the grapevine that Mr. Creech, who owns Renaissance Village, who, I don't know how long that's been, 30 years, 40 years, it's been here for a very long time, is concerned because Broad Street Commons got a tax break, and he's not raping in the dough like he used to and getting the same rate of return that he used to. I speak to college students, and they're going elsewhere because he's not doing improvements to get them to stay there or to pay more. That's his problem. That should not be the city's problem to help him earn more money. For 20, 30, whatever years, the rate of return on his units, because they're 4-bedroom, in suites or whatever, is astronomical. If you look at other cities and other property owners that have similar housing, I'm sorry to say, but it's great that he earned that for so long, but I don't think it's the city's responsibility to help
Carrie,
with
we're running
that.
out of time here, so
Okay.
you might want to wrap up.
So the other issue is that 15 Couch continues to be there, and I'll make it brief. Surveyor Aaron Obius had a couple of his assistants be there a couple weeks ago to take survey of the property. I'm not getting a straight answer. I left a message for Mr. Schneller, and I still didn't get a response back. He still hasn't made any efforts to demolish the building. He's not cleaned up the property. The tarps are down now. It's all exposed. The animals are living there. My concern is that he's going to come in front of the zoning board, work something behind the scenes to try to get a variance to offset the cost for his demolition. I'll refer again to two other property owners that demolished their buildings, one over on Margaret Street and somebody else, and they did it out of good faith and to follow the code. So again, I don't see any, $25,000 I believe is what he was fined. Mr. Schneller, has he paid that?
It's not appropriate.
Yeah, I don't want to get into any pending litigation, Carol, so I'll leave it at that.
It's just, again, it's 4 years come September. Nothing's been done. He's still delinquent on property taxes and school taxes. I live next door to this, and he's benefiting from it, not the city residents, and we're suffering. So those are my two main issues.
Well, let me address some of them. First of all, I think there's probably been more movement in the past few months on Couch Street, on Margaret Street, on Cornelia Street than there has been in quite a while. It's sometimes difficult to see that until the final outcome occurs, but I can assure you that things are very much accelerated right now, and we're having weekly conversations on all of those properties, and Joe and our legal counsel have been working very hard on that, and I hope that you'll see progress soon. If there's some sort of a variance or something that's negotiated by any property owner, it's not behind the scenes at all. These are open public gatherings where all this is discussed. And on your other issue with regard to tax assessment challenges, we're quite resolved in making sure that we do the right thing and determining what the proper values are, not trying to solve this through litigation, but if it means going to litigation, we'll do so, and we'll not construct those future huge reductions in property taxes as you may have seen in the past. I agree with you. It sends a bad message out to the people that are simply trying to do the right thing when they see these large tax breaks offered as a settlement. These are legal settlements, but they're done in a constructive way that is very discomforting. So we're certainly very aware of that as well.
Well, my concern, I'll end on this, is that I think we as a city need to, I asked the city to work on two things, and one of them was to create a protocol for any reduction in property taxes that are beyond the 5-year or whatever, and look at 3 years back with federal tax returns, rent rolls that are legitimate, which are going to be hard to prove with some of these landlords, and other measures that the assessor and the council could come up that would be valid, and that if the property owner is experiencing a 5 or a 10% loss or whatever, we as a city need to say to that owner, that's a market correction, and that we are not in the business of helping you make more profit. I have a large concern for this because city residents are not happy with the city right now. Everybody's saying, oh, I see more tax increases, we're having to share. As far as 15 Couch, I'll just say quickly, I don't see where Joe is able, he's limited in his power, to help make sure to clean up the property. I don't know if any of you have gone down, the tarp is still down. I was assured that the porches would be down. In the middle of all this, while you're waiting for him to demolish it, and yeah, he can go in front of the zoning board and it'll be public knowledge, but I do feel that there's going to be pressure from the city zoning board, et cetera, to grant him a variance in order to have him demolish the property. So I asked the city and the legal counsel to get him to at least remove the porches and at least, so you don't have to put up the tarps. Remove the porches and the stairs and the backside handicap entrance so that I can live next door without vermin, skunks, cats, and have to live next to this.
Thank you. We're on it.
Thank you for listening.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. We're going to now just take a couple minutes off. I'm going to then have a budget hearing tonight. So any of you would like to express an interest or would like to help with the budget, please feel free to join us. come this way.
Hi. Hey, how's it going? Good, thanks for coming.
Yeah, you are, okay.
Thank you so much. Best of luck.
Conway, is there an agenda or anything for the budget meeting? I guess
You're the man. Did you get that memo?
I have
Becky
nothing,
was.
I have nothing from Mike.
Yeah.
You want to sign the paper? There's two because somebody's going on vacation.
I didn't know
Motion
he
to
was
adjourn
going
the
to be
budget
here.
meeting.
Pardon?
Motion to adjourn the budget meeting for the.
Got it.
Okay.
You need that pen for tonight.
I didn't know he wasn't going to like it.
I'm gonna skip a second.
Are you? You're gonna skip the hearing?
We just don't.
Well,
Oh, wait,
this
this
is okay.
is a
I think somebody was planning to talk.
He was going to have,
They might
he was
just
going to
listen
have
to
Becky, I
whoever.
guess he spoke to Becky about it, but Becky isn't here.
So
But Becky said she would be here, so that's where that snap. Because he told me he wouldn't be here.
Yeah, but didn't somebody come, was it Steve was gonna come and talk tonight? Maybe just hear him out and then
Is
call
this-
the
what
meeting
is
after
this?
that.
Okay, thank you.
Was it Steve and the two Mikes?
Sounds like Craig. We'll ask them, they'll know.
I won't be here for the budget meeting next week. I'll be here for the regular meeting, but then I gotta leave, I gotta go out.
Hey, Steve, were you talking tonight as part of the budget hearing? Budget hearing's not really my deal, but I'm just wondering who is here. Yeah, I know
Compose yourself.
Myself, do you have your key? James.
I might just step in for a second.
Oh, yeah, they were supposed to come up with their ideas about capital plan changes, but, you know, we're supposed to be going through the capital budget tonight to see if there's anything that can be postponed.
Josh, are you gonna shut off?
I will. Thank you.
And the fire department.
What about Connie?
Dale, what are we doing?
What? We're
What are
gonna,
we doing?
nothing. Badges, we don't need no sticky. Pepsi, Pepsi, Pepsi. Go Coke. I think they're having flashbacks. Must be. Okay.
Seeing as there's no agenda.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we'll call to order the budget meeting. I guess we'll do a roll call.
Michelle's here.
Michelle's here.
Counselor Kelly, Counselor Dowdle,
Yes.
Counselor Ansel, Counselor Casper, Counselor Kretzer.
Here.
Mayor Reed, I'm sorry, you're last. Okay, the purpose of our meeting tonight was to review the approved capital expenditures and see if we could come up with any of the expenditures that may be able to be delayed or put aside for a year or two. I know that in previous meetings, there's been some discussion. I know Mayor Reed, you talked about the new truck, fire truck that we had that had been approved, and I believe the request the council asked for it to be suspended. Do we have any update on where we are with that?
I believe legal counsel's waiting for direction from the budget committee to then pursue. He believes that we have a good reason to believe that we could not have to continue with that contract if that's what you decide. If you decided
Does that
to
need to
not,
come from the budget committee or from the council?
let's ask Richard that question. Does this budget committee have the authority to reprioritize the capital projects by a vote?
Or does it have
Since
to?
it's the council, I would assume so, because you're acting on behalf of the common council for the budgeting, yeah?
It is a publicly announced hearing, and you do have quorum, at least as soon as Rochelle returns.
And it was one of the objectives that was set, so
Mhm.
it sounds appropriate to me.
Okay.
I think also the engineer shared with you all a series of other items in the capital plan. Many of them are already ongoing, and many of them I think you've already discussed at previous meetings. For instance, the main road reconstruction is probably the largest one. Lorraine has already begun. Some of these also have external funding, so I think your decision at that time was to proceed with the road work that you had already had set in and engineered. There were a couple of water projects, as you know, you passed one approval tonight to do the engineering study for redesign, repair on the spillway. This is a repair operation trying to preserve as much of the existing materials as possible. And I think he anticipated completing or getting the work done on that as early as this fall, so it'd still lie within this capital year. Given that the DEC is mandating us to do this, I think that it behooves us to stick within their timelines on that one, is what I would advise on
I'm
that.
sorry, I'm late. What were you talking about?
Just about capital projects and fire truck.
Okay. So you went right to the fire truck, or?
I was just giving a summary of the items
Oh,
that was
okay.
on the capital plan.
Yeah, we discussed road work and water projects
Okay, water projects, I'm okay with that.
And road work.
and road work.
And road work, yeah. It's exciting to think that we'll also get some relief down the road, and we're gonna get that grant, right? Or a couple grants.
Yeah.
I had a couple. Are we just gonna throw some stuff out there?
Mhm.
And you know, it'll be a process of asking questions more than anything else. Just, you know, from my point of view, it's stuff that we feel like we need to reevaluate to see whether there's any chance that there can be postponements. Is Kevin here? Good. Kevin's here. I know that I thought we had moved on street resurfacing and improvements. I thought we'd moved Cogan Avenue off. Kevin?
Mhm.
Now, I think I've got the latest version. It's 1/5/17.
There had been 78,000 for this year for the Cogan Avenue entrance, but then they extended it. So they took away the 78,000 that was targeted for this year, along with,
That was done in January. The approved version is dated 1/17.
Oh, okay, well, shoot.
So, yeah, you are.
I got the one with all the yellow. Maybe you published the one after the yellow,
Right.
and I didn't pull that one up.
I'll send you a fresh one if you like.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, that means that probably some of the items I bring up are not correct, so you'll just be on board to correct me, right? Oh, thank you.
The one that's attached to the city budget.
Okay, thank you.
You can always be sure too, the title is approved, 2017 approved capital. Correct.
You got it. Thank you, Richard.
I'm sure you do, yeah, it was just pointing out for, okay.
Okay. Yeah, it was moved. Okay, gotcha. All right. Anybody else have anything while I'm scrambling here?
the fire truck. What are we talking
Might as
about?
well go there.
What are we talking about?
600 and
You asked council to explore the feasibility of not completing that fire truck this year. The initial response from the fire truck vendor, there's a middleman, a representative in Glens Falls that we've been negotiating with, and they actually then negotiate with Ferrara, which is located in Texas. On the first round, our council and our chief had understood that the truck had already been started, although it's true that we haven't fully spec'd it out yet. Yeah, and the completion date was, I think, in November of this year, isn't that correct? October. It's unclear just how much of the truck has been completed at this time. Since our initial inquiry, the company that is building the truck has changed hands, is under new ownership. And as a consequence, the communications haven't been so good right now. Our legal counsel believes that since we haven't had the opportunity to actually complete a final contract for it, it was just, they were going on preliminary specs. Our legal counsel believes that if the council chose to not purchase the truck this year, he feels we have a strong position in that, but he can't be quite certain yet.
so there's no final contract has been signed? There was
No
still-
monies, no contracts have been signed and no monies have changed hands yet.
So how would the work have begun on the truck?
See, that's the very good legal question. That's why he believes that if we decided not to order the truck, that we would be paying a zero or minimal penalty.
And why hadn't a contract been started?
We hadn't quite finished specking. I think, as a matter of fact, Scott was going to spend a little bit more time going and looking through the various specs. He'd done much of that work, it just hadn't been quite completed. So when we made the inquiry, but what's happening with the truck, thinking that it's going to arrive in October, we kind of assumed that, well, there's no way it could even have been started. So we were quite surprised when we heard that it actually had begun. Chief, do you have anything you might want to add to that?
I just was told that they started work because of the signed PO that was delivered to them, and that they purchased the motor, the transmission, the axles, and they had all that lined up. What's left to be done is the internal, how the compartments are set up. We know the sizes, we know the depth, it's just the shelving and everything, that's what had been done.
So where does that leave the new bay that's being attached to the firehouse to accommodate this truck?
We've already let out the engineering for the new bay. We haven't let out the contract to actually build or do the modification yet. So if presumably you didn't have the truck, is it correct that they wouldn't need to do the additions at the bay, the new bay at this time?
Correct.
And what were we bonding out for the construction of the new bay?
Good, could you speak up a little?
Was it
What was the new bay, the cost of the?
175.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
170,000
I think 175.
But I'm not,
Here, you take this.
Sure. don't need it?
I mean, I'll ask for clarification.
Okay.
And the truck was 640?
Wasn't it just under 600,000?
The truck was initially 650.
650?
Then we got them to, they gave us concessions, and allowed us to hold last year's prices, so we got it down to 594.
The budget was set at 600,000 for that. And the building. One seventy-five,
Mm-hmm.
175.
Well,
But the concession on the truck, was there a delayed payment? Was there an enticement on the purchasing the truck that was offered since we're kind of a repeat customer? Did they
Yes.
not offer us a delayed payment or they offered us on something else?
There was a way that you could finance it through them that was a little different, but when we worked out the numbers, Richard, it was the same. I mean, it was just a delay of
of 6 months from,
from date of delivery. I
But-
can revisit it.
And you said a purchase order was sent?
Sorry?
A purchase order was completed to?
Yes. The purchase order was signed, I know there's some.
Yeah.
Could that be, I mean, could that be
Interpreted as a
interpreted as a
contract?
contract?
Not according to our legal counsel.
Well, I mean, if there's a difference of opinion about that, I mean, do we risk legal entanglements over this?
But I think at this point, we wouldn't know. I think that Dean would need council approval.
Right, I don't think he would want to pursue this much farther
Okay.
until he found out from you whether you want to cancel or not.
Okay.
What you could do is instruct him to pursue this farther, saying you have the intent of canceling, should it be something that the city could do at zero or minimal cost.
Right.
And then have an opportunity to revisit it if for some reason there is a penalty.
So that brings us back to the question that we discussed in December concerning the need for the truck.
Right.
And, you know, it's always a fine balance between the risks and the benefits in terms of repairs and so forth. And please refresh our memories concerning that discussion.
Well, the truck that would be replaced, several times last year, I had both trucks break. That's the main truck at Station 2 and the reserve truck. And one time we actually had to borrow a fire truck from District 3, their oldest one, that would fit into the bay because our bay is so small. That's why it's continuously ongoing. Since that, we've had one time where I went to go out and call and it wouldn't start. That was due to an electrical problem and some wiring. And then 2 weeks ago, on the way back from the call, the cab filled with smoke. Something the electrical box shorted and went to ground and started to fill the truck.
Right.
So it's just ongoing problems that we're having.
And
How old is that truck, Chief?
It's the one that's running right now is 2004. And Frontline, their expectancy is about 12 years and then they go to reserve mode.
Thank you.
We're hoping with the new truck that we're gonna overbuild with the frame and suspension so that it will be able to handle more of the abuse that it gets.
But in terms of service, has it affected service to,
Only
you
one
know,
time.
response time and all that stuff?
No, not that. It has just the one time they didn't start.
Yeah.
And they were luckily in station, they were able to switch to the reserve truck and respond to that.
Okay, so I mean, it seems like to me it comes down to saying, can we postpone this a year? Is it worth it to instruct Dean to evaluate the situation, given what the chief has said? Are we gonna postpone?
the figure 594, I've never bought a fire truck, probably never will. How does that price out? Was that a good deal? Where would a 594 truck be in 2 years? I mean, I know you can't predict the market.
In 2 years, they go up about 3 to 5%. So that truck was $650,000 this year, 2018. If you wait 2 more years, it's 3 to 5%. And I'm sure cost of buildings go up also, construction. And our value of the truck we're trading in was only $35,000. And that was, they worked to deal with a wholesaler because it's the one that we're trading in is a 99. So what's gonna happen is that'll continue to depreciate also.
Decline.
Then, unlike the automakers, how many fire truck makers are there? We hear it's under new ownership.
It was bought by Rev Group. Rev Group now owns, I believe, 6 ambulance companies and 2 other fire manufacturers. And they also do a lot of camper sales. They're a conglomerate, they buy the companies and they leave them independent. manufacturers are there? Offhand, 8.
So there's not a lot to choose from. And we've done business with them before.
Ferraro? Yes, the Ariel is a Ferraro.
Have-
And the reason we went with Ferrara is the Pierces are all proprietary. That's what we had before. So if the truck that we're having problems with now had tie rods that need to be replaced, those come from the factory and have to be manufactured to spec for that truck. But there was a 4 to 5 week wait time just for the parts. So the truck was out of service because you can't get the parts. Whereas Ferrara, you can buy things off the shelf just as with a DPW truck.
And beyond the 594, what else would we be looking to add to that? To the price of the truck? No more bells, no more whistles, that's it? Okay.
Everything comes out of the other vehicle, the radios, they get switched over. All that comes with lights, everything in the hand tools that we have now, we switch over.
Okay. And you made reference, Chief, it's a 2004. You said the abuse it gets. Do you mean the use it gets or the abuse it gets? Or is it just the nature of a fire truck?
It's the nature of the fire trucks that they're running. That truck runs in the south end of the city. We've had, every year we have spring shackles break on it with the springs in the back are snapping. Because of we've got some streets that are that way. And that truck had to be manufactured to fit into the bay size that it is now. So it'd be lowered, so the suspension wasn't beefed up enough.
Is that the truck that's being traded in 2004?
No, that one will go to reserve status so that it won't be used as much. The one that's being turned in is a 1999. That's been, what we typically do is after they get to the end, where they're in front line, they go into reserve mode because those are your newest vehicles. So the 99 was in a front line position and that's now going to a reserve. But it's been in a reserve mode and then that'll be traded in. 2004 will go to reserve mode and the new one will come in. You only use the reserve one if one is out for repair or we have multiple emergencies in the city. And we have to employ all the vehicles.
How well does 99 work?
Not well enough.
Not at all.
To be honest, the pump's making a noise that I'm hoping that doesn't cause me a lot of headache.
What were you going to ask for in 2018?
Nothing.
All the shopping's done, everything's stocked, and
What's that?
everything's done. You've done all your shopping, and everything's stocked and ready to go. So there's nothing left really for the fire department because that's
As far as
and the ambulance
a capital
was
project,
right.
Another pumper in 2020.
Yeah, but that could be pushed back. We have, our fleet is now getting up so that it has been, what's happened is that the speccing that's been happening since 2004 has been to beef up the truck suspension-wise so they'll last longer. The last one was in 2012, I think we bought our other engine.
11, I think.
11,
Yeah.
and that's doing no issues. So, the new ambulance is doing great. We haven't had one problem with it, and that's running quite a bit. So at the end, the frontline ambulance went to reserve mode, one was in reserve, went to the third run. So that's how it rolls now.
So we've got all these variables. I mean, are you done asking about the actual machine?
Yeah, for now.
Okay. No, go ahead.
No.
But I mean, I'm just trying to reason it out. We've got all these variables, for and against. How does if you take into effect what the chief has said, Richard, about increase in costs, decrease in trade-in value, increase in building whatever bay, how do you analyze that financially?
Well, the new debt service would be like $63,000 a year.
For this, if they were to finance it this year? Yeah.
Truck only?
For 2018.
$63,000.
Finance it for 2018.
Truck only? That's just the truck.
That's the truck and the building.
And the building, okay.
I'm sorry, what was that figure?
It's
About
63,000.
I'm just doing a rough calculation, and that's about, what, 0.6% of the tax levy?
Richard, it's 63,000 with the, that's with the bay expansion also.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The building and the truck.
Because it's not just the truck.
Building and the truck.
Yep.
Right, because the aerial's 44,000 and that was $1 million.
I just looked at
Right.
3% for 15 years.
Yeah.
So what was the tax cap last year? What was the tax cap at last year? What percent?
It's
1.19 or something, ridiculous like that.
So it's about 60 or 70% of the tax cap?
Yeah. Those two items, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it's gonna be this year, but they're keeping it lower than two. They're looking at the CPI as well as the growth rate. They're keeping those numbers really low in the state.
Hmm.
I mean, before we make a decision, I would like to get more information from Dean. Whether we do have,
Well, the problem I think you're dealing with is that before now Dean has to decide whether to bring out the big bazookas. And it's not smart to bring out the big
Right.
bazookas in this if you all decide to go and buy the truck anyway, right? So before you ask him to do that, you have to have some resolve of what direction you're going. I think he's made all the explorations he can. He's pretty confident he's got a strong case. The next case is to simply say, we've canceled the contract and here's the reasons why on a legal basis we've done that. He's waiting for that direction from you or not.
now, is that something that we can do as a body tonight, or do we have to wait for a full council meeting, or?
Well, given that you've constituted a budget hearing and you've got quorum, I think you can.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough one, you know, it's not cut and dried at all, it's,
Well, it's kind of, part of it to me is it seems as if we made intentions and this company has gone ahead with executing our intentions. So like I would feel badly about that now.
yeah, but I mean, that, again, these are all gonna be tough decisions.
Decisions, right.
And, you know, when you hear
When you
Richard
hear that
say the
a 6%
percentage of,
impact
I know,
yeah.
I know.
I mean, that brings it all into clarity. I mean, and it's tough, but it just seems to me like we're gonna have to be gritty. We're
Right.
just
This is
gonna
probably
have
gonna
to
be the least tough decision you're gonna be making over the next
Yeah.
6 months.
Exactly. So, I mean,
That schedule that I've been boring you with for the last 4 months, every meeting I said I keep giving it to you. The total debt service increase for the general fund based on this capital plan is 500,000. So, I mean, this 63,000 was part of it, but it's a big number, and that's gonna raise the tax levy 4.7%.
Or force you to make a lot of really painful cuts,
yeah,
obviously, which you know.
Yeah, and it's not just the pumper truck, there's a lot of capital expenditures out there.
that's right.
We're throwing
And
4
we're
million alone on the
agonizing.
general fund. The general fund's gonna have to borrow 10,905,000, give or take, by the end of this year, depending on what you decide you want financed here. The total debt service for the city is gonna be increased by 13.7 million. Water fund is gonna have some in there, recreation some. It's big numbers, and it's a big
You know.
impact. But the biggest impact is on the general fund, obviously. The water fund will be impacted because we'll have additional debt service that it has to find money for. John says he's got plans for how to deal with that. But that fund was actually in trouble too, and needs help. And more debt service just adds to the problem.
You know, the way I look at it, you're trying to work underneath this cap. Every time, every little bit of money, I think, well, I convert that into how many equivalent employees maybe we have to do with less. So if an average employee with benefits might cost us $40,000, $50,000, I'm thinking, okay, say in this example here, $65,000 here, well, which 1.5 employees are we going to tell we got a fire truck instead of your jobs, et cetera? You are going to be coming to that over and over and over again for the next 6 months, so I'm afraid, and hopefully we can do some of that through attrition. But if your goal is to try to get pretty close to the tax cap, knowing that our structural deficit is about $2 million out of whack, you're going to be making a lot of really hard decisions, and people's lives at some point are going to be affected by it. Some can be done by attrition, but not all of it. So,
And I think we also have to consider an expensive fire truck is a responsibility to the city and to the citizens. Is the 1.5 employee a responsibility, the employment of that person, a responsibility of the city?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I asked the safety question and the response time question. I mean, I think if there had been an argument in favor, saying that this, you know, looks like we're not going to be able to respond effectively, then that's quite a different matter.
And we're talking a cancellation, or are we talking a postponement? We're just pushing this over a year, 2 years, 3 years?
Who knows what they would accept? And, you know, they don't have to.
Oh, I think we'd have to start all over, wouldn't we?
We would.
Yeah.
Especially with this, it's a new company, there's a lot of things. I can't imagine that, you know,
And
they would just let it ride. So if we, I mean, it's nothing, we'd revisit that, I would think. And, I mean, is it expensive this year that's foreseeable? If we push it into 1 or 2 years, it could be a time there's more unforeseeable expenses. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
getcha.
This is the here and now, you know, what we got, but
Well, I mean, how do we, by what kind of process do we kind of try to reach a decision here? Because we've got a big, long list.
Well, there would have to be, I think we'd have to go item by item
Yep.
with a motion and say item by
Okay.
item.
And does this decision have to be made today, or can we wait until we have
A list
the rest of our cohorts? And
would we wait?
But I guess my opinion on that would be, the longer we wait on it, the more that work goes into this truck.
that's
well,
true.
the dean has given them constructive notice to halt any additional expenses incurred.
Oh, so they.
So are we going to be looking at item by item, or are we going to look at a whole list? Then look at item by item.
No, we've got the whole list. I mean, I think we're just
Right,
looking at
but-
the whole list.
Okay, the whole list of all the capital projects.
Yeah, I mean, there's not.
There's
I
not a-
think there are
right.
some that stick out and some that don't, but, I mean, and,
Well, rather than say no to the truck tonight, and then next week we look at something else, oh, I didn't know that was on there, let's get the truck back. and
So
get rid of
maybe
this.
just-
oh, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
just have an
I see what
overall
you mean.
list.
Okay.
More of our council.
Right.
So maybe there's a way of prioritizing. So this one, we definitely, we've only got 3 weeks. So, you know, I mean, we may need to have another meeting.
Right.
I don't have the list in front of me, but
plan.
I guess my question is in regard to amount. I mean, we're looking at 775,000 when you combine the two. I imagine some of the road construction is a higher figure. Where does this sit in relationship to the other projects, the cost of the other projects?
Well, you could get a percentage of the cap. I mean, I think Richard's already,
The increase in the general fund for these projects, for that spending, is $4,127,000. So the truck and the building are about $775 of that.
So we're looking at about 25%. Even more than that, no, more than that, yeah.
What's the percentage you're looking at? The 20?
18.8%, just a little over 1/6, I guess.
And that percentage applies to what now?
Total general fund
Total
capital
general.
projects.
Yep, general fund increases 4,126,819.
Okay.
Water reserve is going up 799 for spending on this, which will be debt service. Sewer reserve 1,191,000. The reserve on the sewer, capital reserve right now balances about 1.8 million, so that doesn't have to be borrowed. And New York State coming in is 100,000. That's according to the back page of the budget summary that Kevin puts together.
What's the amount that does not have to be borrowed?
100,000.
Oh, that's, oh.
Out of 6,000,000,
Right, okay,
716,486.
all right.
And the 1,191,000 doesn't have to be borrowed from the sewer reserve. Excuse me, there's two numbers here for water reserve, 799 and water fund 499. There is no water reserve, Kevin, unfortunately. Water reserve is about $38,000. So that 799 plus 499 has to go, about $1,300,000. All has to be borrowed for the water fund, so that's going to put some pressure on that fund too, for debt service.
Do you want to, just in terms of tonight's process, hold this and look at some other areas so that we can get that sense of the whole picture?
Sounds prudent.
Yeah, knowing that Dean has contacted, is it a stop order?
There is a stop order.
So,
Not like it's gonna roll into town next week, so.
Right.
Okay, well, that's.
if you don't mind, I'd like to look at recreation complex facilities. Oh, yeah. So there's, Richard, I just want to make sure my figures are updated. Crete event floor repairs, 20,000.
Yep.
Folding chairs and tables, 16,000. Gym community room improvements, and I think that had to do with partitioning the room.
Bumping out the window. Right.
15,000,
Yeah.
Total 51.
I mean, and Steve made, I think, a good case about the liability of having these really decrepit chairs.
Having been over there on Saturday and sat on a few of them.
Yeah,
They're pretty bad.
but I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, sounds kind of petty, but whether there could be a re-eval about, just repairing or repurchasing the most dangerous chairs. I don't know, that's just brainstorming. But
Just
the
doing an
real point.
inventory on the condition of the chairs.
Right, but the real point I wanted to make was that even though I can understand his logic and desire for, increasing the way in which the rooms can be used, subdividing it so that it can have specific uses, I question whether this is a really a priority in the light of these big challenges.
What was the figure on the?
I mean, that
gym?
part, I've been in the room before. Oh, it was 15,000.
16.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember what he said about the event floor repairs. He said he couldn't stay because he had to take care of the kids, but that should be clarified. And I had a different impression of tonight. I thought we were gonna get, I thought it was gonna be you guys making suggestions to us, but maybe I'm just not remembering correctly. No. I thought you were gonna make recommendations to us about how you might reprioritize your list. Now, I imagined it. Okay, sorry. Okay. All righty.
If you want to talk about public works equipment, I'm glad.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there. Thank you. Maybe we should do that next, just so you don't have to wait around.
Not gonna wait unless you.
Okay.
Well, the big number on the list is the streets at 2.7 million. So I guess dealing with the biggest, hardest number,
Yeah.
that's the question. Are we doing
Okay.
them all, or are we doing some of them?
I thought we had decided we would only do Lorraine and Peru. What do you got?
I thought Maine.
And Maine. And Maine, of course, Maine.
Was it
We've got
Lorraine?
Maine for
Maine, South
290.
Peru, and Lorraine?
That's for water distribution. I'm on water distribution, sorry.
Main Road is 770,000 north and 1,120,000 south.
Right.
Sorry,
That-
what was that, Richard? Maine was 700?
770.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are two parts of Maine.
South Peru was what?
Main Road north, Dakota to New York is 770,000. Main Road south, Kansas,
Right.
Dakota is 1,120,000.
So, and then South Peru is 460,000.
What portion is South Peru?
From
Very far.
South Catherine to Sharon.
Oh, okay.
Don't see that.
Oh, maybe that's not,
Wait.
maybe we took that off?
No,
No.
another page here, sorry. You're right, 460. I was looking at the water thing too, what you just wrote.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
South Peru Street, South Catherine to Sharon, 460,000.
We lost Kevin now. So Leonard,
Lorraine. Right?
you know anything about Leonard? What shape it's in?
Leonard's on for this year?
Is Leonard on?
Is
110,000.
it?
Yeah.
Yep. And that's-
Kogan, we took off though, right? And we moved it,
Yes.
Okay, close enough.
It's back on to 18.
right.
Well, I mean, you know, for me to comment on Leonard, I'm sure there was more studies, there was all sorts of studies that, you know, the civilian naked eye might not see, so,
True. But despite all that, you know, there's the way your car feels when you drive down that road. And we know the difference. I mean, yeah, there's a schedule, there are all those tests, but then there is a very legitimate factor that has to do with the way your suspension feels. Is it, I don't know, sticking your neck out to say that your car doesn't bounce?
well, maybe that could be
The bounce
the
test.
measurement. I could, you know, we could just drive around Wilbur Street Morgan's, just do the bounce test, and see which tells what streets your head hits the ceiling on.
Richard, what was the Lorraine price tag?
Oh, the rain.
That's-
But that's supposed,
that's a-
that's an extension
Right.
from last year.
Is 308,000, and that's part of work in progress from
Yeah.
2016. So that's being worked on right now.
Okay, so that one's off the books then.
No, that's gonna add to the debt service.
No, I know that, but I mean, that, we can't, it's already,
Right.
It's already in
That's-
progress.
so we can't touch it.
Right, that's correct.
Plus, we're getting under the tracks. The railroad
Well,
tracks, that's a big factor
then-
too, so that's here to stay.
Well, I don't see how we
Right.
can make any decisions without
I think
Kevin
Lorraine
here.
is also funded by CHIPS, is what
Right.
Kevin has
Right.
indicated.
Because of the tracks.
It's not really to increase the debt service, I'm wrong about that.
I agree with you, Rochelle. I think you'd need your experts here to
Yeah.
consult with before you can say anything meaningful.
And unfortunately, I won't be here next week for the budget meeting.
Okay.
I'll be here for the regular session.
Well, I mean, you
But
know.
what I would be willing to do is
Meet
look at,
again?
and
Kevin's coming.
Oh, good. Kevin Hotline. You trying to eat?
John
How
summoned
dare
you.
you?
Well, I'm a little hungry, but I just discovered something I wanted to
Okay, good.
check something.
Thank you. So anyway, we're looking at the streets, and then Dale just made fun of me for suggesting that the bounce test wasn't legitimate.
Let me ask you this, Kevin, I mean, could we put off, both Mains and South Peru Street this year, for a year?
What? Are you kidding?
No, we gotta do something.
The water main break on Main Street, you think, remember that? All the,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear him.
That's where you gotta go. Hold the road work off for a year, buy your fire truck.
It might what?
Buy the fire truck. Buy the fire truck and hold the road work off for a year.
I think it's gonna be one or the other.
I think a fire truck is a little less expensive than the road work. And that's what we're here for, we patch the roads where we can now.
So then that would move everything
Back
out.
The
so,
question is, how far out could you move the fire truck?
Right.
You have to look at that, it's, you know, again, it's kicking that can down the road, and use the term the mayor put out there one time, it's unfortunate, eventually you're gonna have to buy the fire truck. It's not an easy pill to swallow at $650,000.
Richard, what would those two road projects, if you did the two Main and South Peru?
well, let's, before we go there.
Well, no, I just want
because
some
of the-
information. I'm just asking for some information.
South Peru is $460,000. Main Road is,
Combined 1.8 million?
is by,
Almost one.
more than that, because 1.8 is the general fund contribution, plus there's the water distribution or water fund contribution of, another $658,000.
So we're looking at about 2.3, 2.4 million total between those three road projects?
2 point. Yep.
Yeah, the two mains with
2.6.
the water and
South Peru.
2,548,000 without South Peru.
And
South Peru is what, another 460? 460. So 3,000,008 on those three projects.
Yeah.
3.8 on those three projects.
3,008,000.
From all the funds? Or just,
Yep.
you know,
From water, 658, and from general, 1,890 and 460.
Now, what you might do, Main Road, South Peru, we have as,
Chips.
as CHIPS funding, right?
I just saw that, I'm sorry,
Right.
it's not gonna be financed.
So, well, and that's what I was going to look up, because I think that might, I'm not sure that's in the right column in one of the summary reports, so I was just looking it up to see if it is, but, we've got enough CHIPS funding to put, some money towards that. The South Peru is in rough shape, and with the high volume, it's definitely in need of repair. Public Works did some work on it, was it last summer, I think it was? Definitely, it was a real good Band-Aid, and, made it better, so, we could certainly went through another year, but, it's, anytime you talk about that, it gets to be the bigger picture question of, you start to backlog so much, and then you're left with this monumental task of trying to play catch up. And, so I always got to kind of, in the same breath, give that sort of cautionary note. But you can certainly do that. Now, the Main Road one, is something that I think is estimated fairly conservatively, just based on nature of the number of streets and a lot of the unknowns. And with the water main situation, which we know, there's some urgency to really try to address that, or at least begin addressing that. We could possibly, and so one of the things you might want to do is, as we're working on the design now, in fact, we expect our first preliminary drawings to be done this week. As we advance the design and make some key design decisions, then we'll be able to do a more detailed engineer's estimate. I'll be able to tell you more accurately if those are, good estimates or not. Hopefully, I hope they're high, and our actual prices are lower, but I can't say that yet. I'll be able to say that soon. Or you can take that one step further. You could actually put some of these, you could take like Main Road and do a couple of things with it. We divide it up into north and south Main Road, with south being the worst in terms of certainly road condition and I think break history too. We could easily bid it as, part A and B, and then see what the prices come in at, and then award one or both or neither. And that's an option too.
That's Maine North and Maine South?
Right.
Okay.
And you think we could get by with South Peru, putting it off for a year or so?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's rough with what Public Works did, and I don't know if, maybe there would be a couple other band-aids that could help us limp through a year, but, we can, I think, get through another year if we wanted to.
But you do have CHIPS money for that,
Right.
correct?
Right, now, we could take that CHIPS money, just hold on to it,
Okay.
or we could shift that CHIPS money over to, say, a main road.
I remember Main Road is what we've been applying for grants for, and there's a lot of a good opportunity to get grant money this year from the state. So, if I were you all, I'd keep on with your plans for the roads that are also connected to water main breakages, because that's the angle we're pursuing for this grant funding. If you just kick that can down the road, by the time you do decide to do it, that grant funding could be all dried up, and now our taxpayers are on the hook for it.
Well, and as well, if you think about the frequency, the increasing frequency of the water main breaks, I mean, we're not just looking at the road, we're looking at fixing the water main problem. That's just,
Well,
let's
we
look
need
at
to
the
do
other-
something.
Let's look
I
at
mean,
the other roads.
We're sitting here
Let's look at.
going around in circles. We need to,
Well,
I
you
think,
threw out a road, I'm gonna throw out a road. Let's throw out, Broad Street, Leonard.
and what are the prices, costs associated with that?
Well, these will be part of another total. We don't have to make up all of our money just on the roads.
No,
80,000 and 110,000.
Broad is 80,
Yeah,
Leonard's 110.
yeah.
Broad Street, of course, it coincides with that traffic study, so you may want to defer that too and see what the results are. Now, if you wanted to, let's say the traffic study said bike lanes, and you wanted to pursue that, that might be a nice tie-in, because now you could resurface it and restripe it. So you may want to defer that until you see the results, and now, if you're anxious to do that this year, great, or if you want to postpone it until next year, that's probably fine too. And Leonard, that could definitely be postponed until next year. What I would probably think about would be, if you want to delay at least for the moment, delay South Peru, Leonard, and Broad, and then make decisions about Maine as we refine the design, and maybe we get bids, and then make a decision on that later. So just defer that.
Okay.
And that.
Does that sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
you know, South Peru is a big ticket, well, Maine obviously is a very big ticket one, if you do both north and south. South is not quite so bad. And then South Peru is a big ticket one, that's rather expensive.
I thought you said south was one that's really bad.
So the south end of Main Road is
Really?
definitely
Yeah.
much, much worse than
It's-
north end of Main Road. South
It's
Peru,
like a
because
war
it's a
zone.
truck route, it gets a little, we've got, and because of the soil type and because it's a truck route, it gets a little bit beefier pavement section. Cost per square yard over there is a little higher than what
Right.
you're gonna get in cost per square yard on Main Road. Plus, we've got, concrete, reinforced concrete slab under that road. And so demolition removal of that also drives the cost a little bit. That's a fairly expensive in terms of cost per square yard job.
We should probably have notes of this, and I haven't been taking, have you been taking notes? Yeah, so that we can make sure we're building on those next time. Good, thank you.
So Kevin, you would recommend putting off Broad, Leonard, and South Peru for a year?
Well, South Peru and Leonard, yes. Broad, I would suggest maybe.
Wait for the study.
Wait for the study?
Let's, you know, if you're interested in seeing the results of the study and then discuss that further at that.
Okay.
Isn't South Peru a road that you've been putting off for about 6 years now?
We've been putting off
Quite a
lot
few.
of roads for a lot of years. Yeah, it's, you know, and it's you know, it's an entrance to the city. And it's heavily used. And I really tried very hard to make it part of our South Catherine.
Right.
To no effect, but it didn't quite work out. I was, you know, trying to stretch those limits around corners and get to Terrell, which we ended up getting Terrell,
Yes,
and that
yes.
was huge. That was probably top 3 to 5 worst roads in the city, and that was good now. But,
So if you're to develop a rubric though, and you include in your rubric things like how long it's been put off, how bad the road is, how much travel it gets, how high profile it is, etc. It seems to me that South Peru is going to float pretty high up in the scoring of needing work. Maine, for other reasons as well. Maybe Lorraine and Broad, to me, would fall a little bit farther down on your list.
Lorraine
but-
or Leonard?
Or pardon me, Leonard
Okay.
and Broad, farther down on your list. And Lorraine, of course, has already started. So I encourage you to keep Peru, South Peru on the mix yet, only because it's been delayed so long, so often, and it's in such bad shape and it gets so much traffic.
Okay. Where do we go now? You wanna look-
About recreation, and they have a $250,000 project for the base oval athletic fields.
Right,
Other fairly-
postpone it. Postpone that, the reconstruction of the community room. Gosh darn it, where is it?
Page 6 of 8.
I, I would say that before we do anything with recreation, we should at least have Steve here to get information on.
So he can help us
So he can help with the
priorities
decisions,
in the
yeah.
rubric, yeah.
So I guess at this point, for next week, we ask, should we ask each department head? Or do we want to be specific and make sure, what's that?
Like go line by line.
Go line by line, exactly.
Is that, do you think?
I would rather do it that way,
Yeah.
have it all in front of us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But it would just require everyone to be here.
I won't be, but.
No, I mean,
Yeah, yeah, all the department heads. But I would, in advance, give some suggestions in my absence.
And could we vote on any of it that we knew about, like at the actual meeting, like, or no? Maybe probably not.
I mean, at the actual council
Like
meeting?
at the actual council.
Well, I mean, I think we could do, or unless we wanted to, we could do one of two ways. We could vote item by item that we're going to put off or cancel, or however we want it, whatever we want to do with it. Or we put it together in one packet and just vote on it as one motion. Whatever.
Well, and,
I think, I'm sorry, Rochelle, I didn't mean to cut you
oh,
off.
that's fine.
Personally, while I think it would be cleaner to do it as one packet, I think perhaps we should do it item by item. Because I think, I think everybody
There might be
has
divergence of opinion.
opinion, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm kind of worried about our schedule, getting this whole 5-year plan together. So,
You have,
I
what,
mean,
2
it
more
seems like
meetings before
we
your
should-
plan has to be assembled?
Mike?
Pardon?
Why don't you go over the stuff right now, line by line, with the department heads that are here?
I think the concern was 2 people are still missing.
But you can address that next week, but at least you're that much farther ahead.
Yeah.
Vote on it.
good. I'm for it.
Okay. Well, we can
Well,
go
how
back
about you
to,
guys
we can go
then?
back to where we started, and I guess that's the fire truck. And
Well, I think, why don't we let Mike and Mike talk to us? They have a couple of things. We've already discussed that. Department of Public Works, Camel Jet.
Super fun. Super fun.
Okay. Yeah, that's why it says SRF. Thank you.
You have an issue with that? Okay, because the truck is 25 years old.
Yeah.
I bought it from the town last year, in 2002 for $40,000. The truck's $400,000.
Yeah.
We need the truck to maintain sewer systems and help with some excavations.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
Thank you very
The
much.
truck we had is falling apart. I can't fix it.
Yeah.
Can you find another $40,000 one? That was a great buy. That was a hell of a buy.
It was.
You converted to fire truck. That's not a bad idea.
And
Yeah, we are.
flush it out with a hose.
What else do you know?
You got no truck there?
Yeah, we have a plow truck on there also.
yep.
At the last budget session,
Go
we
round.
presented the council with a list of our heavy trucks and gave you an assessment of our fleet. We typically run, we don't typically, we run 6 frontline plow trucks and 2 backups. Currently, we have 4. That would be a 5th, and then we somehow have to patch together an actual 6th. That truck, we had catastrophic failure on one of our trucks.
Yeah, I
Flip flops in
remember.
the back, basically disintegrated.
Yeah.
So
It was in
that's-
December, right?
Yes.
First one.
But we're scavenging parts to make a whole truck, so what you're seeing there is actually only a part of the truck. It does not include, it's only the truck chassis and box. We're repurposing a sander, a plow frame, a wing arm, and controls. And that's already been stripped off of the trucks. And the only other capital item, we did the upgrades to our fire suppression system. And we're not going to follow through on a maintenance truck
Okay, so that was like the $37,000 maintenance vehicle?
Yeah, 30, that's correct.
And that's off,
That's off.
okay? And the light, medium duty?
There's $50,000 for building maintenance, and we spent 4,000 and change, the rest is off.
Okay. And what about the stake bed truck?
That was rolled into one to get more big truck. There's 3 items.
Okay. All right, and then the sander, right?
Sander was one.
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
3 items.
okay.
Did you spend that 4,000 out of operating funds or
Out of capital. It just got completed a week ago.
So 46 is being taken out.
Yep.
Cool.
Thank you.
Was that all this?
That was all
DPW?
DPW, yeah.
Any other department heads that have capital projects?
Just the fire truck, I think. Well, you do, but that's all, I mean, do we wanna consider the water and sewer funds? Are we gonna let the water and sewer fund raise the rates and just handle it?
Well, the sewer
What type of
has-
increase are we?
Well, the sewer has $1.8 million in the capital reserve, and I think this list only has $1.1 million in spending, $1.2 million, so.
None of the work that's in process, that's in progress affects any rates. Either the capital projects already have appropriations, or there's a funding stream in place from the infrastructure investment charge, or we've got cash in the sewer fund to pay for it. Right, so as far as 2017 goes, none of that, none of the capital projects affects any need for a rate increase this year, next year, or years out. It's starting next year and year after, we start running into some big ticket
Okay.
items then.
Right, me down.
And they won't be part of this bonding issue, so it's not really relevant for that conversation.
Development on IC on the water side. And we'll be doing the same in the sewer once we run out of cash.
Well, if we're gonna do these water projects here, it's $1.3 million to borrow for next year.
Correct. Well, those, not the ones that are mine.
Yeah, they listed as 2017 projects is $1.3 million. So we'll be borrowing the money for that this year, hit the debt service for the water fund next year.
For the distribution system projects. Sorry, but
Yeah, there's what, 658, like Kevin already said?
like there's 882,000 that was appropriated in capital project maybe 6 weeks ago. There's no cash for that, so if those projects go forward, you're gonna borrow money for that. But those are distribution system projects. I'm talking about the water filtration plant, the dams. All the money for this year is in.
Good.
So. But if you do the main road, water distribution system projects, and the replacing the laterals before paving, and the water meter reading system, the hydrant replacement plan, that all totals 882. And use no cash.
Say that again? No, you don't have to make the list. What'd you say after you
82.
gave the list?
It wouldn't have to be.
If you proceed with those
Yeah.
$882,000
Okay.
projects, there's no cash for that.
Right.
So that will be a bond and a resulting IIC at some point.
Or state money because it's water sensitive in the budget right now for the state.
Out of that, question, John, out of the $882,000 you just mentioned on that list, would any of those dollars be able to be absorbed by the current fund balance for water? Maybe that's a question for Richard.
The capital reserve, like I said, is down to next to nothing, $38,000. I think all the cash that we presently have in the water fund, I have to verify the numbers, it's pretty much restricted debt service on water tanks or for spending on
So
dams.
basically, there's no cash in reserve or in the fund balance.
I was just wondering whether,
Hand to mouth?
So the answer is no.
That's right.
I was just wondering whether doing, like on Main Road, for example, doing only the southern half this year, if that's how much easier that is to absorb as opposed to doing the entirety of Main Roads. That adds up to $658,000 together, the southern half is $368,000.
There's no cash.
Okay, you answered my question, thank you.
Okay, I guess at this point, I'll ask my colleagues up here, how do you care to proceed? Do you want to go item by item to decide these, or do you want to do it together with, as a bundle of projects? I'm talking about for next week. Yeah. I think, Josh, item by item, I would say item by item.
Item. Yeah.
Okay.
And
And I-
I'm thinking also for next week, do you think we would have time to, to entertain some other ideas for cost savings aside from the capital projects, or is that too big of an, tall of an order?
I think
You can do
have
what you
to.
want, because I won't be here at the budget.
Oh,
meeting.
yeah.
So yes.
I think next week you gotta put John's or
Right.
Richard's spreadsheet up on the wall and start looking at operating
Right.
expenses too, because you've only got one more meeting after that.
Right.
And the importance of looking at these numbers is deciding, yes, this is our capital project list, because
Right.
here's what it's gonna do to the debt service, because it's
Right.
gonna add
Right.
to those numbers that you're putting together
Right.
for 2018,
So, yeah,
which is a very important number,
that's
because
a
it's
big
gonna be big.
spot to fill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's the only reason why I keep on harping on that.
I
And
know.
I also have a special interest involved with this, because I gotta know what we're gonna borrow and start getting the bond resolutions together for our bond agent and our bond counsel, because we need time to have those in place, and you have to, approve them as a resolution, and we have to publish them, and there's an estoppel period, so all that takes time,
Yeah.
and we have to renew our debt in November. And I know November is a ways off, but by the time we get through all this stuff, we're gonna be looking at, 2 or 3 weeks of leeway.
If they determine their final capital projects list next week, would that give you enough time to have a resolution for the following meeting, the council meeting, for the actual bond stuff that you need from the council to go forward?
That would
The
give me
changes.
the ability to take the list and send it to our bond agent, and also to divide up the projects so that the bond resolutions can be constructed by the bond council, because they have to be put together based on lives, periods of probable usefulness, and that kind of thing. He's got to write them up, and then those come back, and that's the actual resolutions the council seeks to approve. So, probably need 2-3 weeks.
Richard, I know we'll see it next week up on the screen, but approximately, would you be able to tell what, for every $500,000 that we take out of, off the capital expense, what it's?
Every 500,000 out of capital, what it would be for debt service?
Yes.
Using about a 15-year life, it's 33,000 plus interest. Using 3% as an assumed rate, which I
A little low.
call it 35,000, 500,000.
Total? Or,
Yeah, principal and interest on
Okay.
average.
For 15 years.
over 15 years?
And our bonds are gonna average 15 years because of the way we're locked in right now with renewing the bands, because they've been in place for several years, and those projects should only have 11, 12 years left. And road streets are all 15 years. The truck, we have to go 15 years as well. The big truck, the plow truck is a 15-year life. It's pretty much all 15-year. Water, I think we can get 20 years out of that. The actual period of probable usefulness in the books, in the law, says 40 years for water projects. But you can't get the bond market to bid on a 40-year bond. You know, they'll go 20, they won't go beyond that. It's what I've been told.
So the sticker shock on water projects is a little bit less per dollar than the sticker shock on other projects.
And I'll get you an update on where we stand with the actual cash, how much flat I see.
We'll start looking at some of the revolving loan fund. I think they're pushing some of the bonds out 30 years. So the state revolving loan funds, I think those are 30-year bonding. So we'll take advantage of that. That'll help our cash flow. Or if we can find out who's bidding on those 30-year bonds, we can make sure they're aware of our water stuff. Maybe we'll get a 30-year bond.
Does we go through EFC for that?
If we go revolving loan fund.
So we'd have a foot and a half of paperwork, but we'd get 10 more years.
You have a foot and a half?
I have. Thank you, John.
We get a foot and a half of hundreds.
Every foot's worth a million.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in agreement then next week we'll ask all of the department heads to stay again, and then each of us, we will go item by item.
And we'll make a decision.
And you will. You will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Keep hoping you're coming, I guess.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Motion
Thank
to
you.
adjourn.
Adjourn.
Ay, ay, ay.
Oh,